Alright, so welcome back everyone to the Wanneroo channel. So, I thought I'd do a video this afternoon on some wet tumbling solutions. I always see online there's always a great debate about what works best, and you know, whenever I started doing wet tumbling, I kind of collated the information over time and kind of came up with what works. And essentially I get brass that basically looks factory new by the time I'm done with it, with the wet tumbling and then rinsing it afterwards. And that is one thing that's vital, is making sure you rinse your brass well and pretty much put them in the dryer and get them dried immediately. And also too, we've got some other videos coming up. So I'm working on part 3 of the Sierra 110 grain 300 blackout video, so that's coming up soon. And so anyways, to kind of kick this off, we'll keep it kind of short and sweet. The first thing is that I use distilled water. So this is one of those things you can get into in terms of cost, or, oh, well, I don't want to spend the money. I actually have a water distiller here at home, but you know, usually I end up just getting some gallons of distilled water because the water distiller at home can't keep up. So, you know, I'll just grab that for 80 or 90 cents at Walmart or whatever. I like using distilled water if I'm going to clean my brass, because then basically I'm just dealing with H2O. So I don't have anything from a well or from city water. Like a lot of the city water will have all kinds of stuff in it. Anything that could potentially react with the brass, I just want to essentially minimize that and just use basic water, you know, so I just don't run into any issues with anything else in the water, like sulfur or whatever, you know, whatever it might be. The next thing is that I've been using the Hornady cartridge case solution for a while. So essentially what I do is I just use a splash of that in my mixture. The next thing I use is citric acid. So Lemmy Shine is, you know, it's basically citric acid. That's all it is. You can buy citric acid, you know, just kind of plain Jane citric acid out there that's not branded or anything. The thing with citric acid that you need to watch with is you don't want to overdo it. So there's people out there that, you know, they'll dump a whole damn cup load of it in or whatever, and you know, they'll turn their brass pink and stuff. So you don't need to do that. It's basically you just need a little splash of it, and I find that's about it. The other thing, if you overdo it with the citric acid, you'll run into issues with, it'll kind of harden the brass a little bit too much, and then you'll run into, it's not really a big issue, but you might start to see little brass shavings and stuff like that whenever you're loading your brass or resizing it, or you know, expanding it, whatever it might be. And so if you see that, you might want to dial it down on your citric acid that you're using. And also, like I said at the beginning, it's vital too that at the end, whenever you finish washing your brass, so to speak, that you rinse your brass really well. So I'll probably do a video on how I do all that. The last thing is is stainless steel pins. So there are times where I don't use stainless steel pins. Like, let's say for instance, I just want to decap some brass. I just want to get it clean enough to resize it or whatever, and because I'm going to come back later and do a more intensive thing of with the stainless steel pins of getting the brass pockets clean. So a lot of times my brass will get washed twice. So sometimes coming back from the range or whatever, I just want to get that general filth off, and in that case I'll just use a real light solution of the cartridge case and the citric acid, just very light. And then also too, I won't use the stainless steel pins. So I just kind of run my brass in some water, and it's just to get the general filth off. Enough filth off that essentially if I want to resize it, I can resize it without scratching the hell out of my dies or running into any issues with that. So with me, a lot of my brass prep kind of goes in big bulk stages. So a lot of times, you know, my reloading projects will take a long time, because I might do, you know, 4,000 9mm at once. So initially the brass will get washed a year ago just to get the general filth off, and then once it gets to a point where I've decapped it and I'm ready to clean those primer pockets, then I'll worry about a more intensive case cleaning, and then I'll pay more serious attention to it and get the stainless steel pins out. So definitely, if you want to get those primer pockets clean, the stainless steel pins, that's going to come into play. So essentially with this right now, what we've got is we've got 45 ACP brass in here. So with this 45 ACP brass, some of it's relatively clean, some of it's not, but primer pockets are definitely dirty, that's for sure. And also too, this is a mix of small primer and large primer too. So we'll get this washed, and we'll get this stuff added in here and get it going. Okay, so now we've got maybe about half of the tumbler here filled with brass. However many pieces that is, don't know. But we'll go ahead and add some distilled water. And basically you want to add enough distilled water. I always use a bit more. So let's go ahead and we'll keep adding. All right, so we've more than covered the brass, probably about a couple extra inches there. So essentially it works out to about a gallon. We're going to do our Lemmy Shine now. So again, pretty much we just need a splash of this. That's more than enough. Yep. And then our cartridge case solution. Give that a little shake. There we go. That should be good. Oh, that's enough. So you don't really have to overdo it with all this stuff. You know, I've heard of people like pouring in, just taking this Lemmy Shine stuff and just like, you know, dumping just tons and tons and tons of it in there. You don't need to do that. That's way too much. Same thing with the cartridge case solution, you know, just a couple dabs of that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll add our stainless steel pins here. The other thing that'll help you with your stainless steel pins is having a magnet sometimes. That's going to help. And then also having one of those rotary tumblers as well. So I might do a video on that. We'll go ahead and add our stainless steel pins here. Okay, and then we'll seal her up. And so with me, I usually run mine for about, you know, I've heard of people running it for like 3 hours and stuff. I think that's a bit excessive. I find for me, pretty much about 1 hour 45, 2 hours, you know, that gets the brass looking pretty clean. And I don't think it's going to get much cleaner beyond that. So I think if you go beyond, you know, 2 hours, it's probably a waste of time, unless it's just super mega filthy or something, I guess. But I find about 2 hours max is good. You could probably get away with about 1 hour, I think. But, you know, usually I run mine about 1 hour 45 to 2, and that seems to work pretty good. So we'll get it on the tumbler now, and then at some point here, I'm going to do a video of actually how I rinse it and the solution I came up with that and how I do that. So anyways, thanks for watching, y'all. Any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Anything else you want to add, feel free, or you know, the way you go about it. Personally, myself, I'm not a big fan of dry tumbling. There's a lot of people that do that. You know, if that works for you, that's cool. I'm a wet tumbler. I don't like all that lead soaked dust and stuff and dealing with that. So that's why I do wet tumbling. So anyways, thanks folks, and again, any questions, comments, leave them below. Thanks.